Hello, everyone that's coming in. Happy Friday. How's everyone doing? It's back a little more. I still have on workout clothes after this. I'm working out this morning. How's everybody doing? Doing good? Happy Friday. Thank God. Hi, everyone on YouTube. So we'll give it another minute or so. I wanted to just randomly, just like, you know what, I think I'm gonna just do like a candle making Q&A random. Selena on the train. Have a blessed and stress-free day, everyone. Where you going, Selena? I'm doing good. Thank you all for asking. Yes, it is a great candle making weekend. Look, I've been cranking out candles all week, and then so they're all downstairs. So this weekend I'm going to be printing out labels and popping on lids, clipping wicks, popping lids on. And then next week I'm doing the same thing again. So I restocked my inventory, and then next week I'm focusing on preparing for my pop-up shop. So I still have a lot of candles to make too. And I need to go get my son a few little like toys and things like that for to put in his like little Easter eggs, and get like a little bit of candy, even though we're not going to let him eat all that candy, but just for the sake of Easter egg hunting. So we'll be Easter egg hunting with him in my parents' yard. So I hope everyone's doing good. We're going to get started. This live was really random. I just wanted to pop in and answer some candle making questions if anybody had any, just because I really try to force myself to. Hi, Lethea. I really try. That's one of my students in my course. I really try to make an effort to go live at least once a week, whether that's talking about the course or answering questions, or doing a live that pertains to some type of candle business topic or something like that, so that I can stay connected to you all and just give you all some assistance and things like that. And so we'll start with the candle questions that I do have, and then if anybody has any questions, you can just type them in and I'll start answering them. And so one of the questions that I received is, where do you get your jars in bulk? So when it comes to candle making, I always tell beginners, like beginners who are new to the craft and things like that, start with candle making kits. And I say that because candle making, when it comes to buying in bulk, it gets expensive, but I'll explain why in a second. It's easier to test with kits, $20 kits, $30 kits here and there, because it literally supplies all the things you need to make those particular candles within that kit, and it gives you some good hands-on practice before you begin jumping in full stream ordering all of these supplies that you have no idea if it's going to work. You don't know if the wicks is a toss-up anyway, but you don't want to be ordering a bunch of wicks that you have no idea. You haven't done any research on whether or not this may even fit my jar. Wicks is always a sticky issue, but you don't want to be stuck with like 20 different wicks when you can just kind of slow down. And I always encourage, reach out to your supplier and say, hey, look, these are the jars I ordered from you, and this is the wax I'm using. Do you have any wick recommendations? And do you have at least 2 or 3 backups, maybe a size down and a size up? And so that I can test with that. So that way you're not wasting any money. So buying your jars in bulk, buying any candle making supplies in bulk, you're typically going to use a candle supplier or some type of bulk supplier that specialize in carrying candle making supplies and materials. And so, but when you start out, if anybody's on here that's aspiring to get into the craft or who's in the craft and just trying to figure out what to purchase, always start with kits. Get the craft down first, learn the basics, study temperatures, practice burn testing with the candles you made from the kits. Start small, start in baby steps. Learn about fragrance oils. Many of us as candle makers do not take the time to learn about fragrance oils, flash points, what that means, and pouring, temperatures. Temperatures is a toss up too, but if you at least go with what's recommended, then you can begin finding your sweet spots from there. But you're not going to know what those sweet spots are if you don't understand the basis of the craft. So buying items in bulk, you would typically use a candle supplier. Amazon is good too, but Amazon is not a candle supplier. It's a marketplace for all suppliers. And so you're not always going to have the best luck with relying on Amazon to always supply your wicks and your wax and all and your jars and all. Now jars, you probably have more luck on Amazon, but just consistently purchasing in bulk candle making supplies, you're probably not. Amazon is probably not the best reliable. Use Amazon as a backup. Like I actually just purchased some CD14 wicks because you all know if you haven't seen my YouTube video, I'm testing new jars. And so although my CD12 wicks worked, when I used a different wax, it was acting a little funny. And so I'm like, okay, let me try a bigger wick because it was starting to tunnel in the middle and there was wax stuck on the side of one of the jars when I use a different fragrance oil. So, I'm trying to find a wick that can complement the new fragrances I'm coming out with. And so I ordered my wicks from Amazon. I just happened to look up and find some CD14 cotton wicks on Amazon. So let Amazon kind of be like your backup. So let me go back through, make sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, none on Instagram. We'll come over here to YouTube. Let's see. Could you please go over the method of amount of wax and fragrance oil? Yes, that is one of the questions I received, so I'll be going over that in a second. How about the jars that I tell you what wicks goes for it? So, okay, like I stated, when it comes to the wicks, y'all, I feel you. Wicks will make you want to cuss. And I totally understand. I get it. And so when it comes to wicks, again, it's a toss up. What I do is when I'm thinking about, okay, so for example, I just purchased new jars and I ordered from this supplier. It's called the Jar Store. And they just specialize in jars. They don't necessarily specialize in candle making, right? And so they're not somebody that I can really ask, what this is the wax I'm using, can you help me with a wick? They are a supplier of jars and containers and tins, so they're not my go-to. What I did was, it was a 9-ounce jar. I use 9-ounce jars from Candle Science, the straight-sided ones. That's what I started my line with. But this particular 9-ounce jar, it's shaped different. And so I said, okay, a process of elimination. I started my line with the 9-ounce straight-sided jars from Candle Science. I'm purchasing 9-ounce jars as well, but they're shaped different. It's a different silhouette. So I'm gonna just start from the top in process of elimination. I already use CD12 wicks with my straight-sided jars. So let me start with the wicks I have and test that. It worked, but after a few burns, like I said, the wax was left on the side of the jars and it was almost creating a tunneling effect. So what I did was say, okay, from a candle maker, the wick is probably too small. So let me size up. So then I ordered CD14 and I'm going to test those now. So when it comes to wicks, find a candle supplier that where you purchase your jars from. Ask them, this is the wax I'm using, these are the jars I'm ordering from you. Do you have a wick recommendation? Or get on the candle supplier's website, find a similar diameter jar that you have. So if your diameter jar is, if you have a 7-ounce jar, get on Candle Science or the Flaming Candle or anywhere and see if they have, okay, so Candle Science has a 9-ounce jar. It says these are the recommended wicks for this type of wax. Let me try these wicks, even though it's not the same jar, it's the same ounces. Let me try these wicks, and that way it will give me a base. So I would know whether I need to size up from there or size down from there based on the diameter from the jar. Candle Science also has a wick guide where you can put in the diameter, the range of the diameter of your jar, and they give you a couple of wick recommendations. So try that. It's all about process of elimination and just trying to dig and do some research. So it's all about the diameter and sometimes the wax that you're using. All of that plays a part in your wick choosing. And so if you can at least find the same ounce jar that you have on a candle supplier's website, start there, use what they recommend, and then size up or down from there based on how you see it burning. If there is wax film left after the candle burns, is that a wick issue? If you're talking about on the sides of the jar, yes, that is a wick issue. 9 times out of 10, it's causing a tunneling effect. It's burning, but it's not creating a full melt pool. And so that way, as it burns for several hours, the wax is not, the melt pool and the fuel is not, it's not reaching edge to edge within inside of that jar. So it's leaving leftover wax on the side. So that's typically a wick issue. It's probably too small, or maybe you just cut it too short. No tunneling, just film. Well, I think I would need to see what you mean then, if it's not tunneling. I would probably need to see what you mean. If you could send me a picture, then I could probably help you. If it's just film, I don't think I've had that problem before. If it's not leftover wax on the side and it's just film. So I probably have to see what that actually looks like. Because, I mean, as candles burn, you know, I don't think I've had that problem before. So yeah, send me a picture like through Instagram or wherever, or email or something. I can help you with that part. So just so I can get my eyes on it if it's not wax you're talking about. All right, let me see what else is over here. Wicks. Yeah, Simply Blessed wax. Yeah, Candle Science is pretty good with giving you recommendations and backup recommendations too. What does heat throw mean exactly? The heat throw or the hot throw? It means once the candle is lit, that is the fragrance that comes from the candle burning. So once your candle starts to burn and it creates that melt pool, that fuel, and that the fuel, which is the fragrance oil, and the heat coming together, once that fuel comes up through the candle wick and it releases that aroma, that is the hot throw. Frosting and coloring. Should an additive be used to prevent discoloration? So discoloration, typically when it comes, Megan, are you referring to like maybe it turning yellow or something like that? Because yellow, if it kind of turns like a yellowish color, typically that means whatever the fragrance oil that you're using, it has a lot of, I can't hardly pronounce this word sometimes, vanillin or vanillin, I think it's vanillin. It has a high concentration of vanillin in it. And it can cause your candles to turn yellow sometime, even if you didn't color it. And so, or even if you did color it, if your fragrance oil has vanillin in it, it can alter the color of what you originally thought it would be. And so there's a way to avoid that. And there's some type of concentration that you can add as an additive. I'm trying to think who sells it. Candle suppliers do sell it. I know the Flaming Candle sells it. I forget what it's called. But if you go on a candle supplier's website and type in I can't never pronounce it, vanillin or something like that, it will point you in the direction of what you can add to your candles to help minimize it. or you would just have to read your fragrance oils label and see how high of a concentration that vanillin is, because sometimes it's not totally avoidable unless you probably use an additive or just use a different fragrance oil with not as much vanillin in it. Okay, so let's see who else is on here. How do you, what oil percentage do you use for your wax, and how do you avoid that from happening? 416 Candle Co. Is that like two separate? There you go. Stearic acid. Thank you. 529 Candle Company. Thank you for helping me out with that. I've never had to use it, but I just know candle suppliers sell it, and it helps with vanillin, because I use some of my candles have turned after some time. But I don't, all of my fragrance oils doesn't contain vanillin in it, so I don't have that problem all the time. My vanilla scent candle does, but about time I'm turning over my inventory so much it doesn't have a chance to even get that discoloration. So I haven't really had to deal with that issue too much. So oil percentage and wax. This is probably one of those top questions I get, and then I'll come back and see who has any more questions. So fragrance oil and wax. So I have a video, first off, on YouTube, and it's the formula video on there. And so that may help you even more so you can actually see a demonstration. But when it comes to fragrance oil and wax percentages, your fragrance oil, 9 times out of 10, when it comes to waxes, the most common wax, soy wax, coconut soy wax, all the waxes out here. So candle suppliers recommend that you can use anywhere between 6 to even 12% fragrance load percentage. What I recommend is whatever wax you use and wherever you purchased it from, read to see what the recommended percentage gap is. So a lot of candle suppliers say you can use up to 10 to 12%, 6 to 10%, 6 to 12%. And so look at that range. Fragrance oil percentage is up to you. It is. Whatever that range is, pick a fragrance oil percentage, and you won't know what you like until you start testing it. So when I first started making soy candles, I immediately went with what a lot of people use, 10%. I just started with what I researched, like, oh, okay, 10% is typically the average that candle makers use. So I'm gonna start with 10, and 10 worked for me. And so when it comes to deciding what percentage you want to use, you won't know until you try. You won't know if you're pleased with the hot throw until you try. And so pick a percentage and just begin testing and see what you like. Also, when it comes to the hot throw, what a lot of us candle makers fail to realize is, depending on the size of your jar, it's going to determine what size room you burn it in. So I get a lot of questions like, I can't smell my candle, the hot throw isn't that great. And the first thing I ask is, what room size are you burning it in? Oh, well, I have a 8-ounce jar and I'm burning it in my living room. Probably not the size room you should burn it in. Believe it or not, depending on how big your candle is or how small it is, your room size matters. My 9-ounce straight-sided jar, I tell all my customers, it works well in offices, bathrooms, small, dining rooms, smaller dining rooms, or, studio type layout apartment, places like that. I'm not going to tell them my 9-ounce jar works in a big old family room or a living room, because I know it's not. That's not realistic. That size room is probably going to work for more of a 12-ounce or 16-ounce, or, something a lot bigger that can have a larger reach. And so the percentage can play a role, and then also how big your candle is and what size room you're burning it and testing it in. Also, don't think that adding more fragrance oil is going to increase your hot throw, because it's not. It actually does more harm than good, believe it or not. It can cause your fragrance oil to start seeping through out the top of the wax, and that can actually be a hazard, because once that cotton wick is lit and those fragrance oil droplets that the wax couldn't hold. It's almost like a rain cloud. When the cloud gets too much precipitation in it, what happens? It rains because the cloud can no longer hold it. It's the same thing with the wax. Too much fragrance oil, it can cause the wax to begin. It's almost like the wax is squeezing the rest of that fragrance oil. It couldn't hold like a rag, and I can't do it. I'm releasing it to the top. And so when you light it, it can almost be a hazard because it's immediately catching on to those fragrance oil droplets, and that's not entirely safe. And so, so fragrance oil percentages, it's your choice. Look at the wax that you're using, get on the candle supplier's website, see what they recommend. If they recommend anywhere between 10 and 12, try a 10% fragrance load, try 11, try 12. Test them in different rooms that are about the same size that work for your jar and see what you like. Now, I use coconut soy wax now, and I find anywhere between, I actually use a 6% fragrance oil and it works well for me. But then I was like, let me see what it smells like when I use a 10%. And I actually like, I'm starting to see that 10% gives me a little bit more punch that I like. And so I'm going to start switching to using a 10% fragrance oil. So you're not going to really know. I thought the 6% was good because that's what they recommend for that wax. But I was like, And actually one of my subscribers ordered a candle and she was like, girl, I heard when you said you was using 6%, I wasn't a believer until I bought your candle and it smells great. She was like, it's a light, fresh scent. And I don't like my candles to be super overpowering because for me, it gives me a headache. And I know some of my customers don't like super strong, high intense candles either. That's just my preference. So 6% worked well for me. But then when I tried 10 and I burned it in my bathroom, I'm like, oh, this is actually a lot better. So I'm switching over to the 10% too, but you won't know until you try. And so I don't know if it's helpful for me to walk through the formula. I feel like watching that video will give you a better idea, but I'll just walk through the formula just so you can kind of understand. And I can actually put it in the description box in this YouTube live if that helps you as well. But what you want to do is find out what the net weight of your jar is. So for example, if I use a 9-ounce jar, my 9-ounce jar's net weight 7 ounces. And so what I like to use grams. I don't know if there's any gram users out there, but I like grams. Use Google. I got on Google and I said, Google, what is 7 ounces converted to grams? It's 198 grams. It's a little over 198 grams, but I round down. And so 198 grams. And so what I did was plug it into the formula. The formula is net weight divided by 100 plus your fragrance load percentage. Net weight divided by 100% plus your fragrance load percent. And so my net weight would be 198 grams divided by, if I'm using let's say I'm using a 10% fragrance load percentage, 198 grams divided by 100% plus 10%, 198 grams, that will then be plus 110%. So when you plug it into the calculator and you hit equals, that gives me 180 grams of wax. Then you will take your 180 grams of wax and minus it from the net weight, because your net weight is 198. Well, mine is. And so if that's telling me for that fragrance load percentage, I need 180 grams, I have to figure out what the rest of that difference is to know how much fragrance oil I need to make that one candle. So 198 net weight minus the 188 grams of wax I need gives me 18 grams of fragrance oil to make that one candle. So to then figure out how much you need to batch those out, let's say I wanted to make 6 candles, I would take 180 grams of wax times 6. That's how much wax I need to make 6 candles. I would take 18 times 6. That gives me 72, I believe. Don't quote my math. Whatever 18 times 6 is, that's how much total fragrance oil I need to make six candles. When I add all that together, stir for my 3 minutes, pour, it will pour 6 candles. Check out my YouTube video and that will help you. Fragrance load percentage is personal preference. It's whatever is pleasing to you, whatever you feel gives you the punch that you like. So just try different percentages and test them and burn them. Okay. Let's see what other questions I have. I have a candle I made, and when I burned it, the wax is on the side, and it was from a kit. What do I do? What did I do wrong? If it was from a kit, MD, I mean, well, like I said earlier, typically if it was wax on the side, like what I was saying about my example, it was probably too small of a wick, or maybe you trimmed it too short. Because if it came in a kit, that there should have been the correct wick for that size jar. So you probably trimmed it too short. I know when I tested using beeswax from a beeswax kit, I had that issue too, even though it came in a kit. And so it could just have been how the wax is burning. Maybe the fuel just wasn't hot enough to melt the wax from edge to edge. It happens. It does happen. So it's not probably necessarily you done anything wrong. It just probably had a issue in the burning process. It probably just wasn't hot enough. And sometimes if the wick is cut too short, it's not going to be able to release enough fuel edge to edge. Couldn't you just use 2 wicks? KK Sweetness, is that from a prior question? I'm not sure if I missed what you mean by that. Where do I get my coconut soy wax? I get it from the Flaming Candle. Yes. Let's see what other questions. What do you recommend for making the candle smell stronger? Some 464 can be a hit or miss. If 464, I use a 10% fragrance low percentage, and mine worked fine. Like I said not too long ago. See what size room are you burning it in? What size jar is it? If it's still not pleasing to you, you can try a paraffin soy blend. That's fine. I know a lot of people like to stay in the natural waxes. It's, again, that's personal preference. But if staying natural in the waxes doesn't matter to you, try paraffin. Now, paraffin is going to give you a punch because it's paraffin wax is known to give scent punches. That's just, the wax is better for that. So try a paraffin soy blend if that works for you, to see if staying natural is not a big deal for you. Thank you for all your videos. Thank you for watching. Where do you get your supplies? So the link in all of my YouTube videos, Matthew, is it takes you to all things LadyC. If you subscribe to my LadyC's free digital resources, I have a candle supply list that I keep constantly updated. And so I get my candle supplies from several areas. So it's best to just check that list and just check out what I use and what I recommend. So vanillin means it's going to change the color of your wax. It does over time. Simply Blessed, it does over time. And even when you make, like, again, my vanilla candle, it has a high concentration of vanillin in it. So my vanilla candle looks a lot different than like my other, I don't color my candles, but my other scents, my vanilla candle is a darker creamy color than all of my other candles. It just is, because it's a high concentration of vanillin. So it can change the color of your candles over time, or it can alter the actual dye that you use depending on how high the concentration is. So that's something else that you'll just have to kind of test and see. And again, it should be listed on the fragrance oils that you purchase. It'll let you know. So what else? I'm working on this right now. Yep, experimenting. Exact time of curing. So I try, depending on orders, I like to let my candles cure at least a week. At least 5 days if I can. So curing time, at least a week is good, but they always say up to even 2 weeks is also great. Yep, Simply Blessed, people say 2 weeks. Yep. But mine, I mean, look, if I got orders to fill, if a week is good, it's good. So I don't like keeping my customers waiting too long. I try to honor my processing time. So what causes black smoke? When it comes to burning candles and that black soot that happens, that's depending on your wick. Different wicks have different benefits and cons. And so I actually have a video on my YouTube channel about all about wicks that talks about that. But it's just burning. Anything that burns is going to produce smoke. I mean, that's just normal. There's not a complete way around it, but if your wicks are mushrooming, or if they're bending over and they're really black, if you're not trimming your wicks, it can cause that black smoke to be even worse. And so that's why we always encourage people, trim your wicks. Don't burn for hours and hours and hours at a time and things like that. But also, depending on the type of wick you use, some wicks are made to reduce that black smoke, but it just depends. And so check out that YouTube video too, where I talk all about wicks and things like that. Can you give advice selling through Etsy? So I'm working on opening up my Etsy shop. I'm not there yet. And so I haven't sold on Etsy yet, but I will be soon this year. And so hopefully I can make a YouTube video on that, about my experience and what that's like. That works. You turned me into a grams girl, Rosalind. It's another one of my students. Yeah, grams. I'm sorry. Grams is just where it is. I feel like ounces just makes things more complicated than it needs to be. And I like whole numbers. Anything to make my craft easier, I'm game. KK Sweetness, yep, we just answered that. Minimum is about a week, maximum. I mean, you can never cure candles, really. I mean, they say at least up to 2 weeks gives you like that best smell. Let's see, just stop by to say congrats. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it for the support. Girl, paraffin in the candle community is like you saying you have seen. A lot of people don't like paraffin. I mean, again, that comes down to personal preference. I've never bashed paraffin. It's just not something I prefer to burn. My husband has allergies. He's very sensitive to certain things in the air. And it's just me. That's my personal preference. I don't have nothing against it. I burn Bath and Body Works. I burn all types of candles because I'm a candle lover. I'm fine, but my husband has issues with it. I also have a son, so I just didn't prefer burning them. That's just me. Nobody's hating on nobody for using paraffin wax or paraffin candles. It's all good. No, there's, to me, when it comes to a craft, you don't want to beat up on nobody because they chose a different wax or a different route. Like, I'm all game for whatever. My YouTube channel is concentrated on natural wax because that's what I'm proficient in. Like, that's what I started with. That's what I started my craft with. I'm just here to teach you all what I'm learning. I'm not bashing nobody else who uses a different type of wax, and none of us should bash anybody for using a different type of wax. I'm just going off my research, my experience. It does not work in my house. It just doesn't. So it's just what I prefer to use. It's all good though. I think everybody should just do them. Hi from Greece. What kind of wax do you use for bubble candles? I don't know. Georgia, I'm not sure. I've never made bubble candles, and yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I'm sorry, I can't answer that one. I ordered a whole bunch of fragrance from the Midwest. Oh well, for a year. I'm just trying to see if. Thank you, Naturally Mellow. I appreciate the support. Couple more here before I go back to work. I appreciate you sharing. I also got some gems from Clubhouse I enjoyed. Awesome. Clubhouse is great. There's a lot of candle communities on Clubhouse. How difficult would you say it is to start up a candle business? It's whatever you think it. How do you define difficult? I mean, starting any business, it's not just about candles. It's starting a business is a lot of work. I never sugarcoated that with my students. They even said in the course, boy, this is a lot of work, but they're learning a lot. They're gaining a lot of information. And I always say, just attack it in baby steps. This course is set up in baby steps on purpose because I wanted them to slow down a bit and understand the different phases of what it takes to launch and run a business. It's a lot of hats to wear, but it's doable. If you have to me, if you have a passion for what you're selling and you believe in your product and your story, then that kind of releases the burden a little bit of everything that you have to do, because running a candle business, making the candles is not work for me. That's my passion. It's running the social media. It's keeping my website updated. It's making sure my customers are satisfied and I'm responding. It's thinking about your branding and how you want to communicate to your customers and how you want to be portrayed and what you want your brand to represent, and networking and constantly responding to, you have to participate to get people to support you. Like, it's a give and take community out here, and marketing it takes a lot of work. It's not necessarily, it's just whatever you think is your definition of hard or difficult. But I will just say it's a lot of work, especially if you also still hold down a full-time job. It's a lot of work, but it's doable, especially if you love what you do. For sure. It's sure. Yes, the link in the course, it's in all of my description boxes of my YouTube videos. It will also be in this one. The link will take you to everything, including the wait list. The wait list is open now. Yes. And so if you put your name on the wait list, you get the first opportunity to enroll and secure your spot. And so the wait list opens for enrollment April 16th. And so getting on the wait list, you will get the first notification before the public even has the opportunity to sign up. And so it will be in this description box of the live, and it's already in all of my other YouTube videos. It takes you to my free resources. It takes you to the course, the wait list, all of that good stuff. Let me see. I think we pretty much talked about everything. Yeah, pretty much hit on everything, all the questions that everybody asked. So great. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Again, check out my YouTube video. A lot of these I've made. Look, that's what my YouTube channel is all about. I have a formula video. I talk about waxes. I talk about wicks on there. And my video just went up today talking about fragrance blending. So giving a quick overview of that. So check out my YouTube video, scroll through. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email me or hit me up through DM or in my YouTube channel comments. Thank you all for supporting. Again, the course waitlist is open now. All the information about the course, what you're going to learn and everything like that, that link is in my bio and in the description box of these videos. It will take you to the course, to the waitlist. You'll get everything about the course is on that sales page. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. Getting on that wait list, also, I'll be communicating with those on the wait list more frequently. So if you get on the wait list, you get up to date all the time. So I appreciate you all joining in. Look, this was just a random thought. I just said, oh, let me just get on live randomly and just answer some candle making questions that you all may have and that may be struggling with. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all have a great weekend. Y'all enjoy. I don't know where most of you live, but it's sunny here and I'm just ready for some family time. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. About to get back to work.